what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are, was one of the first tools that I really took and I embraced. I didn't take it as a joke. I was like, okay, this is a good starting point.
All of those things that I was sensing, and feeling in my body and having the awareness of in my head, that I literally thought all of that was mine and that nobody else had any of that going on because everybody else acted like they were so calm, cool, and collected. And I'm like, wow. And, and so to find out oh my God, I'm actually really aware of the world, hyper aware, extremely aware of everything around me.
It was literally the most challenging and difficult part for me. I actually had to acknowledge that I am okay the way I am and that I am enough and that I am kind and generous. I had to starting to acknowledge it. But the minute I did that, kind people started showing up in my life and I got to experience the difference.
Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. So you have me, oh my God, how unusual, your host, Simone Milasas. But you also have two very good friends of mine, which I feel like I've known for, well, not just this lifetime. I'm going to say lifetime after lifetime. So welcome, Megan Hill and David Kubes.
Thank you.
Hello.
And we have, this is one of my favorite topics that we're talking about today. And we'll get Megan to talk about what's occurring with access consciousness a little bit later. And when I heard this, I went, oh, we should do a podcast on this, because here's how I got introduced to, I'm going to call it a tool because I think it is a tool, is years ago, 24 years ago, right? I met Gary Douglas at a Mind, Body and Spirit festival in Sydney, Australia. And I had heard about access, but I didn't know about bars. I didn't know that much. And when I met him, I was just like, what the hell? This guy's talking about everything that I want to create in the world, except he has these tools. I just had this concept that I wanted to grab everybody I could and shake them by the shoulders and say, don't you get it? There's something different. There's something greater, because I knew I was seeking something different. And I did that in many different ways. Like I took off the drugs and, I just all of this, right? Because I just knew there's got to be something different here on the planet than what is in front of me. And I met Gary Douglas, and then I went to a class that he did. I met Dane just a little bit afterwards, and I did a class that he did called Out of the Box in Sydney. And I was just like, oh my goodness, we spoke about judgment, and we spoke about what would it be like to live your whole entire life with no judgment. I was like, what the hell? That would just be amazing. And my whole world started changing. I remember walking down Oxford Street, Sydney, which is a really busy street. Well, for Sydney, for Australia. I'm in Mexico City right now. So I'm like, Sydney busy is like nothing compared to Mexico City. And everyone I looked at, instead of just looking at them in the usual way I would see someone, I could see this different energy around everybody and the people and the judgments that they had of themselves. And it was like this light bulb. I honestly thought I was going crazy. And I don't know if I've ever told anyone this. And I sat down on this bench on the street, and I rang Gary and I went, I don't know what's happening to me, but I don't know if I can walk. I don't know if I can, bit of drama, I guess. And he said, what are you being aware of with all the people? And I was like, oh my God, all their judgments that they have of themselves. And then I even went home that night to a friend's place, and I was sleeping in her daughter's room, and she was a teen, so she had all these pictures from magazines up all over her wall. And as I was going to bed, I was looking at these pictures, and I was like, wow, I can perceive the judgments that they have even from a picture, like all these, Hollywood movie stars, etc. And I was like, God, this is the world that people are choosing to live in, is a world of judgment. And I remember just scanning. I mean, at that time, there was nothing on the website about access pretty much, and just trying to find everything I could about access. And they did find this one article about judgment. And it was like 12 pages long. And I sat on my friend's couch and I just read through it and through it and through it again and again and again, because it was so true to what I knew could be true, yet I'd never heard anyone talk about it before. And then, cut forward that I was just like so intrigued about Access and was like, I got to find out more. I went to my first, it was called level 2 and 3 at that time. And now it's Choice for Possibilities, which we shorten it obviously to CFP because we shorten everything. And it was 4 days at the time. You get a manual. And I spent 4 days in that class listening to Gary, like either sitting in the front row or sprawled out on the floor because I was just like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And I don't remember a word he said except for one thing. And I wrote it down in my manual when he said, "You are not as fucked up as you think you are." And I went, okay, I'm going to go with that. And I remember writing it down, "You are not as fucked up as you think you are." And I was like, okay, I'm going to start with that. And I walked out of the class after 4 days and I looked at him and I just gave him this huge hug and this kiss. And I was like, thank you so much. And I remember the look on his face because he was just like, okay, like this woman, this girl has received something from here. And if you said to me, what did you talk about? I'd be like, I have no idea. And that quite often occurs when you go to an Access class. You think you're paying attention and and then you walk out and go, what the hell just happened? Because it's so energetic. So for me, that what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are was one of the first tools that I really took and I embraced. I didn't take it as a joke. I was like, okay, this is a good starting point. So this is the tool that we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is you're not as fucked up as you think you are. So I brought two of my friends on here to talk about this tool as well, because I know throughout the years, the three of us and so many more people have gone through stages of going, shit, I think I am fucked up, you know? And I wanted to ask you guys, in what area of your life, when you first came along to Access, did you think you were fucked up and find out that you were not? And whichever one of you wants to go first, you can.
Well, Megan, ladies first. You know I'm a gentleman.
I knew you were going to say that. Thank you. I think when I came to Access, I was actually looking to find out how I could be not so fucked up. Like it started from something's wrong with me. I'm so different. Like everything doesn't really make sense. Like I'm functional, but like something's just off. And so I've told this story a lot of like I was diagnosed with, depression and anxiety, and they put me on all these medications, and the doctor was like, basically your brain is different and your right side isn't talking to your left side the way that it should, and so these medications are going to help everything work better. Well, the medication never worked. Like it worked for a little bit and then it would stop. And so when I first found Access, it was basically that, like, what if you're actually not as fucked up as you think you are? Which is hallelujah. Like, oh my God, it was that one moment set me free for forever.
Actually, can we delve into that a little bit, Megan? Because a lot of people know you now and they're like, what? Megan was diagnosed with what? And like what brought you to that? Like, why did you actually even go to a doctor in the first place to say something's like, I like the way you said I was functional, but there's something a little off there. Like what
I
brought
would
that
just
on?
I would wake. I mean, I was young. I was 20 something, 26 or something. And I would just wake up. Sorry, I have my sidekick. I would just wake up in a state of like terror. I would be like, I would have the physical palpitations as well, like the increased heart rate, and like something terribly is going to happen. Like something terrible is going to happen. Kind of like paranoia mixed with like kind of like an up and down is the best I could describe it. But I had no idea. Like I was, I was young, I was drinking and partying. And so you have those elements added. I had roommates, I was living in a city, like all these things that I get now when I'm talking about it. At that time when I discovered all of those things that I was sensing, like and feeling in my body and set like having the awareness of in my head, that I literally thought all of that was mine and that nobody else had any of that going on because everybody else acted like they were like so calm, cool, and collected. And I'm like, wow. And, and so to find out like, oh my God, I'm actually really aware of the world, like hyper aware,
Yeah.
extremely aware of everything around me. My body is extremely aware of everything around me. And to not have to fix that was a turning point for me personally.
So then you went to the doctor,
Yeah,
what made you walk into the office?
I think it was like a family intervention or people are like, "You're usually so happy. Like, I think you should, this just really can help take the edge off so that you can,
Yeah,
go to work." And, I was working. And so I took they and then with if you've ever been on any kind of medication, it's always interesting because you have to find the one that works for you, especially with anxiety and depression and the mixture of it. So I remember they put me on one medication, which was Lexapro, and it numbed me out to a degree. I had no personality. I would couldn't even smile, and I'm just a lot, so to have like zero anything was just like, then they're like, all right, we should try a different one. So the one that worked in a way was Prozac. um but again, it was like, I think the thing, and I would say, like, if you're on medication, definitely talk to your doctor. This doesn't mean like go off of medication, because I had to really, once I found these tools with Access Consciousness, then I had the tools to navigate what was going on. The
yeah,
medication was awesome. It helped me be able to wake up and go to work. It helped me, just live really. But once I had the tools to navigate all the
yeah,
awareness, and the bars and the body, like all the other stuff that, Access Consciousness has, the vast array of it. Once I had access to all of that, then I didn't need medication. And the moment I knew something was weird was when they'd increased my dosage. I think I was on like 2.5 doses a day, and I was 27 or something. And they were like, all I could think of was all the people that I worked with who were also on medication. I'm like, if I'm 27 and I need this to live and function, how many pills will I be taking? When I'm, 40 years old, I'll be taking a bottle and a half a day or something if it keeps going like this.
yeah,
And I was like, this has got to change. Like, this can't be the only thing out there that
yeah.
works. And I tried natural stuff before I did medication. Like, there's this 5-HTP is a vitamin that you can take, like, to kind of balance your brain. But honestly, like, what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are,
Mm.
um, is huge. And
And I think what you mentioned too, it's like that you're highly aware. And I just want to reiterate too that we're not saying if you're on medication to come off your medication, and yet have a look at it, because it's a very American thing, I want to say too.
right,
I mean, we have medication in Australia, but it's not, you know, doled out to everybody like it is in America. Like
yeah,
pharmaceutical companies really do create that, and it's not in Australia. I know that. And I will say there was a foundation class, which is like you do if you come to Access Consciousness, there's a bars class you can do, and then the next one of the next classes you can do is foundation. And it was in Brisbane, and someone traveled to the class, and it was on the fourth day that she said to me, took me aside and said something to me. And she said, hey, when I got here, and she was on antidepressants, and she said, when I got here, I realized I forgot my medication, and I started to freak out and thought, I need to go home and get it. And she lived a few hours away. And she said, you gave me the tool on the first day. God, it almost makes me cry. You gave me the tool on the first day of who does this belong to? And she said, so I've just spent 4 days, and throughout the whole 4 days, whether we're in class or I'm at my hotel room, etc., every time that energy came up in her body, like that anxious energy, she asked, who does it belong to? And she said, I started to relax. And she said, I realized that none of this is mine. And she stopped taking medication. That was her choice. I didn't say that. Okay. We're not doctors. Well, David is a doctor, but not a medical doctor.
yeah,
So, but there is like, if you're listening to this and any of this rings true for you, why don't you even just find out what access consciousness is? Because for me, the bars alone create like just for me to calm down,
yeah,
and the body processes. Like I'm in Mexico City. I've just finished an advanced body class, and I'm so lucky. Every night I had somebody running a body process on me, and because I'm in Mexico City, and it's for me, it was a little intense for my body even first arriving here. Like my molecules, it was like my body was going, we don't know what to do. Everything's so loud, and there's like 26 million people here. Like, what do we do? And getting a body process, it was palpable
yeah,
how much my body just went, oh, okay, this is the energy that we can be.
Yeah.
And so bars, body processes, there's questions, there's, like Megan said, there's this, that there's something different possible. You know that you don't want to be 40 and taking all these pills. Like, if you're going to live in this world, and we are so aware. So the first thing I want to say is, if you're listening to this, please start to claim, own, and acknowledge how aware you are. Okay. And everything it doesn't allow you to acknowledge just how aware you are, stop numbing it down where you destroy and uncreate it. Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. And that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which we will have in the show notes. So don't forget to subscribe to the show notes, and you can watch a little video and find out more about it with me and Dane talking about it, Dr. Dane here. And it's basically just deleting all that friggin' crap that goes on in your head that you think is yours, when you're just like, damn, I'm actually way more aware and way greater. I'm not as fucked up as I think I am than what I thought I was,
Well, and
So yeah.
that's the thing that I think people think that, oh, if I use Who Does It Belong To and the bars, then it's all going to go away. Because that's what medication does. You can check out, or drugs, you can check out. It turns it off for a little bit and then it comes back on. But for me, it's like it doesn't mean I am any less hyper aware than I was when I was 27. I am, if not 8 billion times
Yeah.
more. And it's like, oh, okay, I feel weird today, or I feel fucked up today. Cool. Who does that belong to? Is any of it mine? It's like, it doesn't mean I don't wake up and still feel fucked up sometimes. I do. I have all sorts of things going on, but it's like, there are tools that we're talking about today that will allow you to change it so that you get to the space of you and the potency of you without having to go into like how fucked up you are. So
It's true. Your awareness actually increases. And then we have tools for that too. As your awareness increases, ask to expand your allowance. And there's so many things that we have from, even like, all of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory is the mantra of Access Consciousness. Quite often I'll just say that over and over again in my head, like, let my OCD just run wild and run that. It's like your awareness does increase, but
yeah.
but life gets better. So you start to live, like, truly live. And I always say, this is your life. Like, what are you choosing? Are you going to wait for something greater to show up, or are you going to choose something greater today? So thank you, Megan. David, where in your life did you think, because you do think, right? We create this whole scenario that we're fucked up in this area, and then find out that you're not. And what tools, etc., did you use?
Well, when I drove to my very first foundation class, 9 hours to a very small little village in Germany, a lot of things were going through my head, and I was literally, I was bored. I was bored of being made wrong. I was a very successful lawyer. I could afford everything. I literally had everything someone would like to achieve in life. And it made me so angry that people used it against me. Everybody was judging for why will you, when will you ever have enough, and why do you always want more? And everything I did, I just couldn't. I j- I was never enough, and I was at a stage where I thought that judgment is a kind contribution for me to improve my being. Every time when my friends or my family, they always judged me and always told me how wrong I was. And then I had friends who said, oh my God, you got fat. And I said, thank you. Why are you saying that? That's a contribution. Because I am not telling you what you want to hear. I'm being honest. You should be grateful for me. So that kind of that kind
Wow.
of judgments, that was normal for me. And family asking me for money and going, well, at least we are honest. And I always was made wrong. Like literally every breath I took, from the moment I woke up until the moment I fell asleep, every thought I had, everything I said, everything was wrong.
So
So
So let's explore this for a second, because it's interesting too. When I first met Gary Douglas at that Mind, Body, and Spirit Festival, um, he hugged me, like, when I met him, and he hugged me, and I sort of, you do that hug and you draw away, and I did that, and he said to me, you'd have a lot more in life if you're open to receiving. And I was just like, this guy's crazy. He has no idea what's going on in my life. Like, he doesn't know the backstory. but I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. And so the next day I came in and I was like, what the hell did you mean when you told me I'd be open? I'd have a lot more in life I was open to receiving. Anyway, he went outside and we had this chat. And I don't really remember exactly what he asked me, but one of the things he was getting me to look at was the people I was surrounding myself by. And the people I was surrounding myself by were constantly putting me down and like using me to this degree so that I could stifle myself and with money, with possibilities, like all of this. And he wasn't judging them. He was just like, that's the shift. Like I said, I don't remember the exact questions, but that's the shift that I remember going, oh, like, is there something different that I can invite into my life? And if I look at who I had in my life then and then who I have in my life now is so different. It's that empowering energy of you can be more, you can be greater. So when you have those projections and expectations from others, and so often it is verbal, and then a lot of the times it's energetic. And
Mhm.
so it's so designed so that you start to think you are fucked up and that you're wrong for literally asking for more. So David,
I was
yeah.
I was constantly made wrong for asking for more, even for and my parents even told me, they said, "Hey, it's not your fault that you are as you are, but at least you can pay for the damage." And my mother
Is this,
explained
I'm
to me,
sorry, is this because of your sexual preference?
"No, because I like
Oh,
money."
because you like money, it's not your
Yes,
fault.
it's not
It's
my
not your
fault.
fault.
My dad once asked me, "What did we do wrong that you ended up as such a ruthless capitalist?" You and at the other hand, they told me that, listen, we live in the kingdom of we, and that means that everybody has to contribute what's easiest for everyone. And
So
for you,
yours was
the
money.
easiest to make money, so you need to pay. Don't even try to work on your, ethics or on your kindness. Just pay. Forget it. You're that's not, you can't change that. And
Wow.
that's why I constantly felt wrong. And even before, I was grateful for judgments because I thought this would help me to improve, to become a better person. A
And
better,
so
they support my diet, they support me going to the gym, they support me contributing more to those who have less. And I somehow knew that doesn't work because I was so angry and sad all the time. And
wow. That's so funny. And my mother would always, like, every time I saw her, I was either, "Oh, well, you look pregnant," or, "Oh, you obviously haven't been to the hairdresser lately," or anything like that. And it was always designed to diminish me, but I definitely didn't receive it as like, I can better myself. I was just like that energy of like, every single time I would leave my parents' house, I would cry because I was just like, wow, how can somebody be that mean to me? Like that meanness, but it would diminish me. I would let it and let it win. So if you're listening to this and you've grown up with people, family, anything like that around you, you have a choice. And the choice is to acknowledge, for starters, that if people are judging you, a lot of the times they're judging what they cannot control. Like
Mhm,
David's family couldn't control him, especially if he's making like too much money in their world. They can't control him, right? So what's the best way to control him? Tell him he's wrong and that he has to give them their money, right? If you're too happy, that's a place where people cannot control. So
mhm,
they start to cast judgment on you. But what if you received it all with not not allowing them to win, and it's not a fight, it's just an interesting point of view that people choose to judge you, and now what are you going to choose as this beautiful amazing being you are? Because if you're listening to this, I can tell you you are a beautiful amazing being, okay? And please stop thinking that you're fucked up because you're not. So David, what tools did you use, or how did you sort of turn that around? Because now, I mean, one of our you travel a lot with me, and I think one of my favorite things is breakfast with David. It's like we'll create businesses and possibilities, and it's like there's a whole thing. We're like, yeah, what else? More, 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 more. So I love it. So how did you flip that around?
Well, it was literally the most challenging and difficult part for me. I actually had to acknowledge that I am okay the way I am, and that I am enough, and that I am kind and generous. I had to starting to acknowledge it. But the minute I did that, kind people started showing up in my life, and I got to experience the difference. And at the beginning, it was difficult because I was like, what do they want from me? Why are they so kind? Are you just saying that because you want money? I was I was very irritated. I literally couldn't deal with kindness, with genuine kindness, because I've never had it in my life. But as I acknowledged that, it was literally practicing with post-it notes on the bathroom mirror. I'm okay. Um, that's how it started. And of course, after my first foundation, I haven't missed any access class that was somehow where I could travel to, because this is how I learned it, and this is how I could start getting the difference and enjoying actually what it means to have kind and caring people around you, and to be that with yourself. I literally started being kinder to myself, not torturing me in the gym, not torturing me through diets and all this perfectionism that I was driven by. I just started letting it go and going, way better, more fun, more kind. And as I did that, so many more kind situations and contributions showed up in my life without planning it out, without figuring it out. That was the surprise. This is how I got surprised by the universe, or probably surprised, harvesting, that acknowledgement that I am okay the way I am. And it just, went on and on and on. And suddenly it became the new normal, like 5 years in, more or less.
I love it. How long have you been using Access tools for?
9 years.
9 years. Megan?
I think probably like 15, 16.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And it also has the sense that I've known both of you forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like what the
And
life
both of
principles.
you are one of those beautiful, amazing beings that literally showed me what kindness is.
Wow.
Um, so very, very grateful to know you and to be here with you and to have that ace talking about it now, because now it seems like it's ages, years, it's lifetimes ago, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter anymore. I'm not angry at anyone. I was like, wow, I'm glad I changed it, which is another extremely beautiful state of being, to not go
Mm,
into revenge and anger, to just say, hey, it is what it is. It was what it was. Move on. Don't allow the past to control your present or future,
yeah.
which gave me a lot of freedom. That not interesting point of view, combined with yeah, not buying anyone's lies, knowing who you are and what you want in life. That gave me true freedom and
Yeah.
true joy in life.
Wow.
I was just thinking too, David, you mentioned about like using people's judgments to better yourself. And there's sort of like a truth with that as well, because if I look at my life, recently and over the past few years, it's well, actually, let's skip to I listened to this podcast the other day, and this guy said something, and I went, God, that's so true. Is we're born on this planet and we chose this body, and then we keep looking at somebody else in order to fulfill ourselves rather than, damn, I get this body and I get to be me and wake up every morning and, I can be like, I get to be Simone Milasas, you get to be Megan Hill, you get to be David Kubes, and that's our priority. And we keep looking at others in order to, validate us or, find happiness or somebody else to be grateful for us rather than having this for ourselves. And I've noticed, like, over the years, it's like I've received my fair share of vilification, and there's been moments definitely where I'm like it's shattered me. But overall, I am so grateful for it because it has made me so much stronger in my very being and very dedicated and committed to choosing more for myself every single day. And I've had the same thing too. I remember my mother said to me ages ago, "Don't you have enough?" As I made more money, and I was like, well, it's not about having enough. I would like to create more and generate more. So I will ask for more, and I will ask for more each and every day. And I'm super grateful for what I have. But there is so much more in the world that I would like to contribute to and empower and invite a different possibility. So yeah, I'm asking for way more. And you're actually allowed to do that. Okay. So everywhere that you've decided you are not allowed to ask for more, can you please make that your daily campaign? It's like more fun, more ease, more joy, more money, more clients, more more joy in every area of your life, and everything it doesn't allow you to know that you are so okay to ask that. Will you please destroy and uncreate it? Right, wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, POVIDs and beyonds. But even the energy when we talk about that, it's like, that means like being a little different. And it's like maybe you head to another level of judgment that you might receive. Oh, well, the one thing Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, said to me many years ago was when he realized that judgment wasn't real and all it did was create this big, black, dark hole, he made the demand of himself that he would never judge anyone again or never judge himself again. And when I heard that, I was like, gosh, again, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, imagine a world with no judgment. And I know that there's people who wake up, like, you know, your family, my mother, people who have decided that they hate Access or hate me or hate someone, and they wake up with this vengeance and this energy in their body that is against. What if none of us functioned against, and what if we actually got to wake up and be with ourselves and our body and choose something greater for ourselves each and every day? To me, that's the world I'd like to live in. It's like that's an ecosystem that is like beautiful and hedonistic and, you know, a contribution and is filled with gratitude and allowance and all of that. And it's like, everything it doesn't allow that to show up, can we destroy and uncreate it?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, POVIDs and beyonds. Profit is how much living you can create when you are willing to create a bigger life. Please join my latest and very low-cost membership with me, Simone Milasas, at the Profit Club. SimoneMilasas.com/Profit Club. So what else have you guys got before we've got a few more minutes here? And I just want to, like, what are the tools? Someone listening here when they're like, oh, these guys, they managed to get out of feeling fucked up. But what areas would you say that most people go to that they have that energy of I am fucked up? You can't change this. And what's some of your favorite tools that you would offer?
Well, when you guys are talking, I was like tapping into, me before I found Access. And it's like without before I had these tools, I was in like defense of the world, defense of my awareness, or maybe fights, like this like weird thing where you feel like you're all alone. And Access for me opened the door to you have an entire universe who's there to contribute to you, to play with you, to create with you. You don't have to do it alone. It doesn't have to be hard work. It's like there is this like magic of living that's possible. And that's where it's like if you can get that, one of the things they also say is like your greatest wrongness is one of your greatest strongnesses. Like if you can tap into, like for me, okay, hyper aware, if I like stay in that fucked up place, then I don't ever step out and actually use all of that to create what I'm capable of with people, with the earth and with the universe. Like there's this entire, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but once you start asking questions, and a lot of these tools that we're talking about are questions. And once you start living as the question, then it's like doorway, possibility, like everything just starts moving and flying. And it's like, I just remember after my first foundation, I was just like, fuck, I am awesome. You know what I mean? Like I have like a secret toolbox that nobody knows about, that like I remember going to work because I worked in advertising, like I would get clients to agree on things. Like I was using the tools all over the place to create whatever it was I truly desired from the place that I am potent, as is the universe when I'm willing to receive. And it's just like, it makes living so much more fun. And it takes the judgment, and it's just like, whatever, like you're going to judge me. That's great. So, I mean, every question I feel like my phone is full of questions to ask for different scenarios, but
What's your favorite question now?
my go-tos are what else is possible? Because I feel like that just is like every day. What else is possible? How does it get any better than this? I was actually, I work with a lot of the Access business stuff, and there's a program Gary's doing on conversations and consciousness, and it is not growing the way that, we think it should. If we were in control and we were God, we would have millions of people on it. But I was reminding people today, there was another class that he did and it had like low numbers, and I was like freaking out, and I texted him like, hey, is there anything else that we can do? Like, contribute to this, like, basically something's wrong and we need to fix it. And he's like, well, you're asking, how does it get any worse than this? You might try asking, how does it get any better than this? And I was like, ah, well, why didn't I do that? Like we look at the impossibility or what's wrong rather than, hey, how does it get any better? We've got this. How does it get better than that? So that's another one that I love playing with.
I love it. And to go on to the end of that too, my favorite question at the moment, because it takes me out of, because a lot of people ask a question, but you ask a question and you go, oh, hopefully I'll get this result over here. So this question that I've been using at the moment with everything is, what else is possible beyond this?
Oh,
So wherever you're at, like, relationships, body, business, money, all of it, what else is possible beyond this? And also, what can I receive today that I wasn't willing to receive yesterday?
oh,
It's
that
like,
was
because it takes you out of trying to work it out, and we're all so good at going to our heads and trying to work it out rather than, as you said, Megan, just like asking questions and doors open, doors open, doors open, doors open. Let's go.
Yeah,
So,
I love that.
I love it. David, have you got anything else that you would
Well,
like to
my go-to questions at the moment, especially in all the businesses I'm involved in, all the deals I have to negotiate, is literally asking for what needs to be done, what needs to be done different, and will this work?
I love that. Will this work?
Will this work, and what needs to change? Asking for something different, and also not making anyone wrong. I found out that we waste so much energy and time in finding out whose fault it was and making people wrong for what has already been done, instead of going, okay, what needs to change now? What can we do different? What next? What now? And what will work? And if it doesn't, okay, what else could work? What else will work? Which keeps me in the constant state of creation, instead of going into the judgment or the rightness of the wrong, or the wrongness of what has already been chosen or been done. Past is the past. Doesn't really create the future, and it's way more fun to be in that energy of moving on and changing things rather than being angry about what occurred in the past.
So I'm going to talk a bit about that, and I'm going to tell you something that Gary told me that I haven't said to you, is that energy of wrongness, right? When you're trying to make someone wrong, what I looked at personally, because that's been one of my things, is trying to prove that I'm right? And I've worked on that, and I've really
you're not alone, Simone.
I know, but here's the story is, so what I used, right, is every time the energy came up in my world where I would have someone be wrong, I went, oh, if I'm trying to make someone wrong or look at that, then all I'm trying to do is actually be right. But the energy that creates for them is, because I actually wasn't trying to make them wrong. I was trying to prove I was right. That's the energy I was looking at. But then it creates this separation. So if that ever comes up in my world now, it's like a nanosecond that I go, oh, and I'm like, okay, I don't desire to be right here. I actually desire to be free. And one of the things that Gary said a long time ago is, most people would rather be right than be free. And I am asking for the freedom, and I have worked on that so much, and it has changed so much in my world, and it is opening doors, right? But Gary once said to me, he said, you think David Kubes is smarter than you because he has more answers. And I went, that is so true. And David and I have been very good friends for a long time, and we both have functioned from the rightness of our point of view and trying to find the right answer. And I was like, oh, so what if I started looking at more awareness and more question? So it flipped my world, and I started looking at, well, who's actually out there asking questions? Like, let's every time we go to the rightness or we're trying to find an answer, instead, what question can we be?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm training myself with that as well. I'm not fully there yet, I have to admit, but getting better.
I don't look, here's the thing. Consciousness isn't, you don't reach somewhere and go, "Whoa, I'm there." Like, you just, every single day, like Megan said before, it's like when you ask who does it belong to and you ask questions, it doesn't mean you wake up and every day is rainbow and unicorns. It's not. Some days you wake up and you're like, what the fuck? But keep asking questions, keep using the tools, and things do get easier. And then they make a tumble because you are actually opening these doors. And as you are leaning into these other possibilities and opening these doors up, something else shows up. And it's like, okay, but your life gets bigger and you start to live a much bigger, broader life. And that's what I am asking for more and more and more of each day. And I know both of you are. And if you're listening to this podcast and that's something that you're interested in, please start choosing it. You are not as fucked up as you think you are. So, Megan, can I ask you to give a little description of what the thing is we're putting on with Access Consciousness with? You are not as fucked up as you think you are.
Yeah. So in the world, I don't even know. They have these month-long campaigns. And so in September, it's like Suicide Awareness Month, and then October is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we in the past have done all these different things, which we're still doing. You can still, get your bars run at a free clinic, and all those things that we've done in the past are still there. But I was like, what if we flip it? Like there's always this like, what happens when you get mentally healthy? What happens next? So it's like, what if we can have fun with it? Because to me, that's the thing that I absolutely like love about Access, and the thing that just makes me continuously move forward is because it's fun, it's irreverent. You don't have to like be a perfect nun or meditation guru. Like I've tried that stuff and I was like, I don't even know how to not eat sugar or have caffeine before I do my special dance to get the universe to talk to me or whatever, you know what I mean? So it was like, hey, what if we could just like for a month or 2 months or forever, this can go on forever, like continuously ask, what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are? And these tools that we're talking about, they're free. You can use them. There's like 8 million videos about them, and we would love for you to do your own videos. If you've heard us telling our stories, tell yours. How did you find it? What tools do you use every day? And talk about them, because my ask is like, imagine a world where everyone woke up asking, who does it belong to? Like, what if I'm not as fucked up? What else is possible today for me that I've never considered? How does it get any better than this? Like an entire world, like you said, Simone, like a world without judgment. And if we go to question, it takes you out of judgment. It doesn't mean if you wake up and you judge something like your body or your neighbor or whatever that you're wrong, but you can get out of it by asking a question. So, and in September and October, keep an eye out on the Access YouTube, Access blog, Access social. We'll be sending some awesome stuff out. We have old videos of Gary, but we've pulled the audio of when he talked about all of them like 15 years ago. They're so great. But we'd also love you guys, if you're listening, to get engaged with it and do a podcast, do a video, write an article, do a sign in your yard with what else is possible, whatever it is for you. And what if we actually inspired the world to know something different is available and that you're not as fucked up as you think you are? So
I love that. And do we have anywhere that they can click onto, a link or anything like that?
right now you're just gonna go, it'll just be flaring up in social
Chaos.
media, all over, chaos everywhere. But you can get a hat and a phone case.
You can.
Yes.
And if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify right now, I'm going to show you my phone case.
Oh, nice.
I was on a plane. So if you're just listening to the podcast, it says you're not as fucked up as you think you are. And I was on a plane the other day and I had it, on my thing next to me. And the guy, I could see him, when someone's like side looking at something, and I could see him reading it. And I was like, I'll just leave it there and see if he asks the question. But I also have T-shirts, and I wear it to the gym all the time. You're not as fucked up as you think you are. So we will have the link to the merchandise that you can get also in the show notes below. It is from our happinessisjustachoice.com website, our shop there. And I think it's shop.happinessisjustachoice.com, but I'll check that and we'll put it in the show notes. So please don't forget to subscribe, and even just send this podcast to your friends. If someone's like down and out, be an allowance of that and just go, hey, just listen to this podcast. You might want to listen to this. These three fabulous people who at some stages in their life thought they were fucked up too, and found out that they weren't, and that there is a hell of a lot more available than the judgment that you currently have of yourself. There's a greater possibility. So what else is possible beyond this? So Megan, David, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to hugging you both in Costa Rica, because I'll see you both very, very soon. And thanks for being here. And thanks everyone for listening, and have a wonderful, beautiful day wherever you are in the world. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.